So, are you ready to go to sleep? I told your parents that, you were gonna go to bed on time, and the time has come. I am a little bit flexible, but not that flexible. So, we have a few minutes. Would you like me to read one of your books? There's a whole bunch of them over there. You already know them all by heart? That's impressive. I don't even know if I know that many stories. Some of them even look like they have more than one in them. Huh. It's okay. I didn't bring any books, but I know how to catch stories. Would you like to find out how? Well, first of all, you gotta be strong. You gotta be ready. You gotta be alert. And for that, you should always be hydrated. So I will drink some water. You already had your water. Don't try to trick me. So, next, you gotta warm up. Warm up those fingers so you can really, really catch those story elements. Yeah, you can't catch a story in one bit. You have to catch the parts that will make the story. You gotta be ready for that. So, warm up your fingers, but also you gotta warm up your brain. Warm up your brain. You gotta do it too, Warm up your brain. Yeah, the front, the back, the sides. Make sure all the brain areas are massaged. You might want to warm up your arms as well. And yes, you can hit your head on the way. It's just gonna, start up the processes for catching a story, okay? Yeah, maybe you want to warm up your wrists as well. You don't want to snap them as you powerfully grab a particularly slippery story element. Okay, I think we're ready. So, if there is another person in front of you in the room, like we are here, you may use them as a target. You're not catching them, but you're catching the stories that have a tendency to float around another person's head. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So, you focus. You pretend that you're not looking, but you are looking. And then, when you see one, you don't look at it directly, but you see one, in your peripheral vision, perhaps. You're looking this way, and you might see one over there, or you're looking that way, and you might see or hear one over there. So when you catch them in your peripheral vision, tonight's bedtime story is brought to you by the word peripheral. Peripheral is periphery. It's the sides of your vision. So peripheral vision. So when you're looking straight forward, you can still kind of see the sides. Well, if you get used to it, you can actually, without actually turning your pupils or your irises or the whole eyeball, you can actually unfocus your eyes so you can see wider. Instead of laser vision, you see more like everywhere but not focused. So that's soft focus. It's called soft focus. So you have your eyes able to see more stuff but less precisely. But that allows you to see more at a time. So you go like this, you pretend that you're looking this way, but you're actually able to see pretty much everywhere. And then you catch a story or an element. You catch another. Now you have two. 1 + 1, 2, right? And then you bash them together and you make a ball. You can make a football, you can make a spherical ball, but are you doing that? Yeah, pretty good. Good. So you have that ball. What do you do with a ball? Well, you could throw it, or you could roll it, or you could shape it into something else. But right now we're gonna put it into something else. We need a portal. A portal. So you look around. You need. No, you're not using my cup. I still have water in there. I have here a hairy roll of electrical tape. Maybe your parents are trying to catch the cat or something, but they shouldn't do that. They'll get bitten or they'll get scratched or something. So anyways, you have a portal here. Anything circular can serve as a portal to the storyland. So what you do here is an exchange we're going to catch some story elements, and we're going to send them through so that they can benefit from new material, and then they can send us some in, you know, in time for when we need to catch the others. Okay? It's just fair. It's only fair. You take some from Storyland, you need to send some, okay? So I'm going to take my my ball of story elements. It doesn't matter what they are. It is better if we don't know, actually. We don't want to be partial, okay? We want to contribute to the ecosystem of Storyland. You need to make sure that you send them some good quality stuff and some bad quality stuff as well. You don't know. And that's the beauty of it. You never know how a bad element can turn into something really, really good. So you take the ball and you send it through. Bye-bye. You want to send yours through? Not through my head, please. Okay, it's more that way. Okay, you go. Good job. So now that we sent 2 elements, we can catch a bit more. It doesn't have to be exactly the same number, but it's good that we sent some. It shows good faith. So let's catch more. Okay, so we have 1. Don't worry, you can catch some next to my head if you want, but right now you're my best target. So 1 here, 1 there. I'm just gonna mash them. Let's keep it. Let's try another. Yes, another. Okay, now what you do is you make another ball, and this one you make sure it's really nice and compact. You might want to blow into it. You might want to cough if you have something in your throat. That's not part of the process, it just happened. So now you have a pretty big ball of story elements, and you want to put it into your hoodie. I have a hoodie. You don't have a hoodie, it's okay. You can use an imaginary hoodie. It has to be a hoodie though, okay? So I'm gonna keep the ball here, gonna take the hoodie and then put the story elements in it. Okay, now you put your hoodie on your head. I'm not kidding, just do it. And now you massage the story ball over your head, thus creating a hat under your hoodie. The hoodie is just there to prevent the hat from flying away. While you're massaging it, you might want to massage it. Don't forget the back. You need to do that a bit more vigorously, okay? Hey, you want a story or you don't want a story? You do the job, get the reward. Perfect. You can take off your hoodie now. You can even take it off and make it fly away, since it's an imaginary hoodie. I'm gonna keep mine. I need it for painting later. Have you seen my latest painting? I'll bring it back. I'll bring it by next time. So now that you have your storytelling hat, you need a storytelling tie. So let's catch another few elements. You know the drill. Now make a coil. Does yours sound like this? Could sound like that. Doesn't really matter, as long as it sounds like its own thing. So you make a twirl, you twirl it, or a braid if you want, if you're that nimble. I'm not. Then you put it around your neck and you do a Windsor knot. You don't know how to do a Windsor knot? Me neither. It's okay. It's a magical tie. So what you do is you make a knot, tap it and say Windsor. Now you have a tie, you have a hat, and you have your storytelling costume. Because that's the magic of it. If you have the hat and the tie, your entire clothing has turned automatically into the official storytelling garb of your world. There you go. We're ready for a story. So, to start a story as a storyteller, you gotta have an audience. I'm your audience, you're my audience. Okay. But this time what you do is you become an audience. Right now you'll be my audience, and you come up with your story. You can keep the elements, you can keep your storytelling outfit that are made with the elements, and then you can tell me the story another time. But for now I'm going to show you how it's done, or how I do it. Then you can decide how you do it. Okay, so you need your storytelling voice. So are you the kind of storyteller that's very whispery, like now
Once upon a time, there was a land that was suffering from blight.
Or maybe you're a loud storyteller and you go, hear ye, I will tell you the stories, the tales of accomplishments that my hero has told me of. Or maybe you're just an in-between and you go, just your regular voice, but you put some more oomph through it and you go, when you look around, you can see things that others can't or won't. I think I'm going to go with this one. So, get comfortable. And crack your storytelling muscles. Maybe, chicken wings. Maybe storytelling neck. Gotta attract a bit of funny as well. And then you go. Once upon a time. You know what? I'm going to go with the other one. Once upon a time, a long time ago, more precisely, last week, there was a little girl who was thirsty. But her parents were gone. They had been gone for 3 hours, when they had said they would be gone for 2 hours and a half. Well, she was a big girl, and she could handle it, because she said she could. And she was a big girl, and she could handle it, because she said she could. Twice. And they believed her. So they went to the store, and they promised that they would bring her favorite whole grain cereal. I know, right? She liked whole grain cereal. It takes all kinds of tastes to make a world interesting. So, she was on the quest for the best rehydration drink of the land. Rehydration. I don't even know if that's a full word, but it's a combination of words. But hydration, it's when you're thirsty, that means you're dehydrated. When you're hydrated, that means you're not thirsty. So her rehydration drink, the thing to no longer make her thirsty, a magic potion that she needed to make, to drink, and to feel better. She wanted to break the monotony of the day. Tonight's story is brought to you by the word monotony. Monotony is like monotone. That means one tone or one thing. Could be one color. Could be one sound. Monotony, at large, may mean like you're bored. You're bored because everything is the same. The world is full of beautiful things, beautiful different things, and that's what makes it interesting. You discover something all the time. You get surprised all the time. You may be scared, you may be inspired, but it's all different things. But when you feel like everything's the same, you're bored. It's too familiar, you need something exciting. So she wanted something exciting. She liked water. I know, right? That's strange. But she wanted to try something else. So she looked into the cave of cold and bitterness, in which could be found treasures conserved and preserved for time. That cave was called Fridge, from the land of Phrygia. So she went to Phrygia, which was at the other end of the land of glassified stone. Kitchen tiles. So she went across that field of kitchen tiles on her belly, and she was crawling through that desert, barren land of cold and cleanliness. And then she brought herself up on her feet again, and then she grabbed onto the handle of the giant's door, and then she opened it, only to find that the great treasures of Phrygia had been pillaged and sacked by the stone giants of the past. She was a bit distraught, but she was, courageous and determined to get her adventure in liquid form. So she looked and looked and found a pitcher, a half-full pitcher of water. And she looked and looked and found some dragon eggs, yellow dragon eggs, There were 3 1/2 of them at the end of the cave. So she grabbed those as well, and there were some berries, some red, hairy berries. So she took them out as well. She closed the door of the cave so as not to attract the attention of some marauders that might have stayed behind to take a nap behind the broccoli, because everybody knows they like to hang behind the broccoli. And, she quietly closed the door, and she went to the wooden world, the island of wood. In the middle of the kitchen, there was an island of wood. It was topped by wood. Everything else was once again cold, glassified stone. And there was a sink, and there was a cutting board, and there were some different implements for the witches to concoct their brews. So she became a witch at that moment. A witch of goodness, of course, because she didn't want to turn anyone into anything untowards. She wanted to turn herself into someone who was no longer thirsty and maybe imbued with new magical abilities. So, she was not allowed to use the machines. She was allowed, however, to use the big kitchen knife because her mother had shown her how, and her father had shown her how again. So the two techniques got blended together in her mind to make her a master chef. So Master Chef got her master blade, and she cut a shriveled old dragon egg in half, and she got juice in her eye, and
I'm melting.
But she wasn't, so she went to the pool of everlasting cleanliness, and she got some water into her eye, and everything was fine. She ran for her secret lair and grabbed a bunch of magical goggles that protect you from the lakes of drowniness. She kept them on her face and got back to the kitchen, and then rummaged through the drawers of the witches, and she found a shape that looked like the dragon eggs, but it had a handle, and it had some grooves cut into them, thus creating some semi-cutting blades, and she would ram that through the half lemon, and she powerfully pulped the lemons and extracted the juice, and it would fall into a giant cauldron of stainless steel. And she did that until all the dragon eggs were hollow and devoid of the juicy stuff. There was a problem. The juicy stuff had seeds in them. The seeds of doubt. You don't want seeds of doubt in your drink, because you're not quite sure that you're no longer thirsty anymore. So she took a spoon from the drawer of spoon. Yes, her family was obsessed with spoons. So there was a drawer full of them, and she took the smallest wee bit of a spoon, a fairy spoon. So she knew right then and there that her parents had been entertaining fairies without telling her. So they would get a stern talking to later that night. With the fairy spoon, she was easily able to dig through the juiciest of juicies and get all the seeds of doubt out of the mash. And she would drop them in a cup, and she would drop them in the cup again, and she got really bored by it, so she accelerated time, and she got until there were no longer any seeds of doubt in the mash. The mash was too mashy. There was something about the texture that she didn't like. So she took the mash and poured it into a strainer. And she put the strainer over the same bowl that was there before. And she used her most magical of hands, because she had 3. She had this one, and she had this one, and she had the invisible one. But she chose this one. And she would fold a finger, and another finger, and another finger. She got bored, so she folded the rest of them into a fist of power. And she
reversed the fist of power over the strainer, which was over the bowl, which was full of nothing. And then she forced and mashed and twisted her fist of power to force the mash, especially the juice from the mash, through the strainer into the bowl, and she ended up with dragon juice. Dead dragon juice, but dragon juice nonetheless. Dragon juice. So she took the juice and measured it. She wanted to make sure she could repeat the experience should the potion be a success. So she took a measuring device of one of the holy instruments of that temple, and she discovered that she had gathered exactly 1/4 of a cup of dragon juice. And she poured it into the pitcher. Nothing much happened. The magical energies blended a bit and said, "Hi!" But that was it. She was like, maybe we need more of the water of life. So she brought the pitcher to the fountain of everlasting water, or ever-coming water, and she opened the faucet of accessibility, and then she filled the pitcher with the rest of the pitcher with water. She left a bit of free space on top. Always important to invite air to the magic potion party. So she stopped the faucet, and then she went back to the island of wood. It was quite a journey that was required to create a potion, but she was a proud, practitioner of her craft, and she was determined to get the best results. So she did what she must. Back onto the wooden island, she had yellow potion. So there needs to be more contrast of texture. So she took the fairy spoon again, and she dug through the lemon mash, and she put 12 fairy spoonfuls of lemon mash or dragon mash into the water pitcher. But there was still something missing. She could feel it in her left big toe, and when she felt it, she knew that something important was going to be amiss if she didn't pay attention. So she paid attention. She sniffed around, she looked around, and she had the image in her mind of sweetness, of a wood of sweetness, a forest of sweets, and she imagined, that's it, tree blood. I miss tree blood. So she went back to the world of Phrygia, and she got a metal container of tree blood. Although people were confused because they had labeled it maple syrup. Never mind, she knew how to identify tree blood when she must. So she brought it back to the island of wood, and she measured the quantity, and she sure felt like it wasn't enough. So she doubled it and ended up with a measurement of 1/4 of a cup. The same measurement as she did for the lemon juice. The dragon juice. She blended them together. And still her left toe was bickering and annoying and giving her feelings that something was amiss. But she took a sip, and she was like, almost, but not quite. We need a contrast of color. So she went back to Phrygia, remembering that there was a color in there, and it was pink. It was a purple type of pink. And she said, brains, mini brains. But then she realized, no, those are berries. Okay. So she brought the berries back to Wooden Island. She was accumulating a lot of boat miles, so eventually she could get her own boat. Anyways, she put the berries into the magical potion, and she waited. And she saw that the berries were introducing themselves to the rest of the gang, but nothing effervescent was happening. No portals. Nothing exciting, really. So she fished them out. She put them in a cup. And she was pondering and pondering with her beard. She had a beard. So she would ponder with her beard, an invisible beard. And Making faces, it's important. You make faces, make faces. You gotta put your fingers. You know, nothing was really working, so she was like, maybe something stuck. So, not quite. So maybe I should spin. So she spun in a circle. She spun in a circle, and she spun. You don't have to spin. You don't have to spin, but she did. And she spun in a circle, and she spun in a circle, and then she had it. The whole world was spinning while she wasn't. And in her spinniness, she realized that she was liquefying. And that feeling was right. And she said, "Oh, I could liquefy the berries." So she looked on the island and she found a gigantic ceramic. No, it was granite. She found, no, it was marble. She found a gigantic marble bowl and a gigantic marble club. And she remembered it was called a pestle and mortar. Pestle is the club, mortar is the bowl. And then she put the berries in the pestle, or in the mortar, and she took the pestle in both hands, and with great strength, borrowed from a giant, because she did them a good deed, she mashed and got some all over her face. She didn't mind, mashed the raspberries, because that's what they were. Shh, don't tell her. She mashed the berries. She thinks they're super exotic. They are, but not as exotic as she thought. She mashes the raspberries, and then she ends up with raspberry mash. So she took the mash and she put it on the strainer over the bowl, and she did the same magical fist mashing gestures, and the juice went through, and she recuperated the raspberry juice, otherwise known as brain juice. So she put the brain juice in the pitcher of water, and she felt and she saw and she sensed that the potion was ready. It was a party in there. It was swirling and swirling, and a portal opened and then it closed because the people at the other end didn't bloody want to be part of a party after all. And then it was done. It was ready. She took a sip and she liked it. She took a second sip and she liked it even more. She took a third sip and it was perfect. So she took her favorite cup, which was ceramic, which had black spots on it, and she called it her mystical giraffe cup. Giraffes from a land where their necks are not long, and when they give out milk, chocolate milk. So she took the magical giraffe cup, filled it with the mystical potion, and went onto the back porch. It was a beautiful summer's day, and she sat down on the steps and enjoyed the view over the garden and the fields behind. Total success. She felt proud. She felt great. And she felt no longer thirsty. And then her parents came home, and as they were putting groceries away, they noticed that there was a pitcher in the fridge, and they said, "Oh, you made lemonade." And she was like, "What? It's magical potion." She said, "Yeah, but where did you get the recipe?" "Recipe? It's my secret." So it became known, in the neighborhood, in the land, that she had the best lemonade recipe, so that it became a tradition that she made lemonade all the time. It didn't have to be the summer. People liked lemonade in those parts. So she taught her recipe to the world, and I want to teach it to you as well, in terms that we can understand, with ingredients that we can get here. 2 liters of water. Fresh water, good water. You need 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Could be 3 lemons, could be 4 lemons, depending on how juicy they are. Could even be just 2, depending. And then 1/4 cup of a sweetener. Maple syrup works really well,
but regular granulated sugar will work. It will just take more time to dilute. If you want to save time, you might want to heat up some of the water, just to melt the sugar faster, then put it back in the pitcher. But that will slow down your enjoyment, because that would delay your enjoyment, because the liquid will be warmer. But you can totally serve it over ice, and that will have been solved. That's it. 2 liters of water, quarter cup of lemon juice, quarter cup of maple syrup or sugar, or the equivalent. I don't know the measurement, but you could probably use stevia. Or this is not a cooking show. You're trying to stretch. You're trying to avoid going to sleep. Good try. Not gonna work. So there you go. Lemonade from a mystical land. You're still not too tired, huh? I have no choice. I have no choice. Okay. I'm going to have to use the voice of sleep. You know, you really don't have to go to sleep. You can just close your eyes for a moment, because they're getting dry. And then, you know, you can think about travels in nice, peaceful lands, covered in forests and mountains that you are flying over, and seeing beautiful clouds in the sky, and feeling great, feeling rested, as if you just had a long, beautiful night of sleep, and you're starting a day, stretching out your wings, because you are a bird, a gigantic bird that has no predators. You are a bird of peace. You are a bird of quiet, gentle love for life. And you are spreading that love just by flying over the land. Isn't it a beautiful place, with clouds that smile back at you with their shapes? You can read them, and they tell you the news from faraway lands and from the local places. You see a lake, and you dive down, and you find yourself under the lake, because you can swim as well as you can fly. And you say hi to the sea monsters that come on the lake for a vacation, and you tell them of the news, and you say, hey, I have a giant chess game. If you want, I can bring it next time. And then you fly away to meet up with other friends and have other adventures that you can tell us about next time. Good night.